globally.
Global.
And I'm coming to that.
Okay.
But first of all, let's understand the fact that war is a failure, is a manifestation. War is a manifestation. Consensus, okay. I've gotten to this point, okay, all parties should back down.
Taking of consensus, the Americans said they are all ready to talk with Iran if there is possibility of understanding
all
each
these
other.
are our political propaganda.
Do you believe that?
Our political propaganda.
Do you believe that this talking will not bring a good result?
Let me take you back to the trajectory in Iran changed from being a conservative kind of nation, to a more vocal and more confrontational kind of system of leadership.
You are saying with the emergence of the Khomeini, the Iranian have freedom,
an organized system of government with true leadership, and they do their inspiration from one of the grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Imam Hussein. Yes, if you know the history of Karbala, what happened then, how the Prophet's grandson was slaughtered, was murdered, his family, everything. So the Iranians are ready to emulate what Hussein did in Karbala here in this 21st century.
Okay, you
and they believe all their leaders are descendants of Hussein. So they believe history is continuous. So at a point, you find history repeating itself.
Are you saying Iran are ready since ever for this kind of a war?
They are. Let me tell you the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is that Iran is trying to develop a nuclear weapon, which is just a mere propaganda used by America and Israel. Iran has uranium, agreed, granted, but it's a uranium program. It's not meant for weapon production. Iran is enriching its uranium for research, for science, for medical, purposes, not for any war. Iran is not after any war. Iran is just living its own life and its own way of leadership that nobody should tamper with. If you dare attempt to tamper with Iran's mode of leadership, I tell you, not even the United Nations, nobody in this world can stop them from going after you.
Recently hear from the Iran government saying that they can't listen to Trump and his words, as they call it, propaganda. They are not ready to negotiate. Do you think this is not a breach of diplomacy process?
No, there is no more diplomacy now. I tell you, war is a manifestation of the failure of diplomacy. So who is talking about diplomacy now? What is the position of the United Nations now? Have you had any official statement about what is going on? Because diplomacy has failed. Everybody is in debate. What they are talking about now is alliances and counter-alliances. If you see, just yesterday, Trump was online criticizing the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, that the UK is not doing enough to support them, that the UK is being indifferent towards them. So you see, they are looking for allies. Both parties are looking for allies.
Are you saying that America on its own and Israel cannot fight?
They cannot, Iran? Because they know definitely the two superpowers of China and Russia are strongly behind Iran. So what is Israel? What is Israel? What is Israel? What is the United States of America in the eyes of Iran? No. What we should understand now is the dimension that this war is taking. I don't want to be too, narrow-minded in terms of, trying to explain the moral perspective of Iran participating in the war or something like that. No, but I want us to understand that the war is no more between Iran, Israel, and the United States of America. The entire Middle East technically have been dragged into the war. Ask me why. America and Israel have military and naval bases in Bahrain, in Jordan, in Yemen, in Oman, in Kuwait, in Qatar. Without those bases, tell me there's no way Israel or the
Of course, that's what kawo saboda kada baka kawo wani voting din da yayi kala da wannan.
This is Skyline TV News. I am Yasser Adam. In the news today, federal government has warned that rising geopolitical tension in the Middle East may transmit fresh shocks to Nigeria. NMPC cut petrol price by 100 naira in Lagos and 95 naira in Abuja. ISWAP commander shot dead in Yobe. And in the foreign scene, US intelligence says Iran government is not at risk of collapse. And then now the news in full. The federal government has warned that rising geopolitical tension in the Middle East may transmit fresh shocks to Nigeria through rising energy prices, capital flow, and global supply chains. The government added that it will continue to monitor development closely, global crude oil and gas market, financial market and capital flow, and global logistics and supply chains disruptions. And today, presidency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday says he defended his decision to sign the Electoral Act 2026 into law, declaring that he had no options but assent to the legislation after it was passed with an overwhelming majority by the National Assembly. The president said his decision was guided by his commitment to democracy and the rule of law, urging politicians across the country to respect democratic principles and avoid actions that could destabilize the political system. Tinubu spoke at an interfaith breakfast hosted for leaders of the National Progressive Congress APC's National Working Committee, state executives, and members of the Inter-Party Advisory Council (IPAC) at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Responding to the concern raised by IPAC over some provisions of the amended Electoral Act, the President said the Constitution democratic principles have required him to issued any production now meet national requirements. Data from the NMDPR, a federal government agency, shows that Dangote refinery accounted for about 92% of the Nigerian's petroleum supply in February as the regulatory agency stopped the importation of petrol. Figures released in the February 2026 fact sheet by the NMDPR shows that local refineries supplied 36.5 million liters per day of the petrol in 2026, while imports contributed just 3 million per day. The confirmation by the NMDPR that it's suspending petrol importation because the country has now enough domestic supply. International Women's Day, noting women, resilience, and achievement, adding that the initiative was in support of widows of officers who lost their lives in service, reflecting the command's commitment to honoring their sacrifice. Military position under Section 2 of Operation Haɗin Kai Sani Uba said that the troops successfully fought the terrorist coordinated effort, which involved advances from Gonori village and Ngamdu junction axis in an apparent attempt to enrich military positions, as he said. Uba emphasized that the area remained firmly under the military control and that ground and air forces continue aggressive follow-up operation in surrounding communities to locate any surviving terrorists. You are watching Skyline TV News. More report after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And now the foreign scene, US intelligence indicates that Iran's leadership is still largely intact and is not at risk of collapse anytime soon. After nearly 2 weeks of relentless US and Israel bombardment, according to state sources familiar with the matter. Reuters news agency reports that a multitude of intelligence reports provide consistent analysis that the regime is not in danger of collapse and retain control, and Iranian public said on other sources, all of whom were granted anonymity to discuss U.S. intelligence findings. With political pressure building over soaring of oil costs, President Donald Trump has suggested that he will end the biggest U.S. military operation since 2003 soon. But finding an acceptable end to the war could be difficult if Iran's hardline leaders remain firmly entrenched. The intelligence report underscored that the cohesion of Iranian clerical leadership, despite the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on February